Uh, well, the title is not clickbait. I was on my way to the neighborhood that my church is in, or the area of town, and I decided to watch a Shane Dawson conspiracy video. I was at work earlier and I saw an article about him theorizing that some pizza place, they recycle their pizza, and the company was responding, "That's not true, it's fresh, don't listen to him." And so out of curiosity I put it on. It was really interesting to see blah. I've had a cup of coffee and I'm like this. It's been interesting to see Shane Dawson's career change. He was there in the beginning of YouTube, and where a lot of people fell, he has continued on. So I do remember there was a phase where for a couple years he was just doing vlogs of like him eating and I don't know, trying stuff out, and I didn't like it as much as the skits. But then he started to do the personal videos, and I think, well, first he did like interviews with people from his past, and I think he's interviewed other YouTubers, and he's even interviewed, or then he did the conspiracy videos, and it's rare that somebody who has been around since then, when they try to change their format, that they're successful. But he's still here. He is one of the first adopters of YouTube, and he's still relevant with people. What he's managed to do, though, that's crazy is he gets new audiences and he's retained the old ones. Now, normally you get one or the other, but he's managed to have it both ways. So I was watching the one about him and the pizza, and then something about the Lyre Bird app where it can mimic somebody's voice. Because I know that Adobe last year, or maybe a year or two ago, they came up with an app or some sort of software that was able to do for voices and audio what Photoshop does for pictures and visual. But they abandoned it, and we haven't heard anything of it since. But then another company went ahead and did something pretty similar, and I haven't watched the whole video. I got the whole conspiracy video. I got through maybe 20 minutes of it, and I'm like, okay, but I'm gonna watch something else now. But for 20 minutes I was pretty interested, and I'm still interested. I just wanted to see something else. So I picked up on the contrivances of the video pretty quickly. Yeah, the opening of the video, the first opening minutes were kind of a bunch of loose threads thrown together, and like any good story, it kind of begs the question of what's going on, and it makes you wonder, and it keeps you watching, and it does a thing that's almost like old sitcoms. The Brady Bunch would do this. It has an A-B storyline going. I haven't seen the whole thing. I'm gonna check it out, but from what I can tell so far, what an A-B storyline is two separate stories going on at the same time, one in the background. Sometimes they'll crisscross. I don't see how the voice AI app thing is going to crisscross into the whole is the pizza recycled bit, but it seems to do that. I'm in a park near my church. I'm gonna go ahead and lock the car because there are other people here, and I'm sure they're civil, but you never know. Speaking of conspiracies, yeah, I'm just bored right now. I've got till 7:30 to be at church, and it is 6:43, so roughly 45 minutes. I don't know that I'm going to go that long, but yeah, I figured I'd just shoot the breeze. I wonder if let's see. Oh no, I can have the AC on. But anyway, yep, I'm just here in the park, chilling, talking, and yeah. So about Shane Dawson, I thought it would be funny if I did a parody series. And Smosh, they already did a pretty funny one where they kind of mocked all the contrivances of Shane's videos. They're well put together, but just all the things and the nuances that happen in his videos. I thought about giving that a shot. So one thing would be like, is Shane Dawson a robot? And then just pull stuff out of the air of like, it's been 11 years and he hasn't aged, maybe only minimally, but is that to trick us into believing that he's human? You tell me. I'd have to watch more of them to figure it out, but there's a blinking light in the background. Some kind of tower. Oh well. Man, tomorrow is both Valentine's Day and payday. Woohoo! I've had some short hours, but I don't think it's going to affect me too bad. Plus, I found out maybe 2 weeks ago that the Comanche Nation, which I'm a member of, that tribe, they're sending out money, and that's going to help me out. Not that I was in desperate need, but I won't have to be as strict with my cash as I was, which I wasn't even being so strict with it, but yeah, I can be a bit more loose. But I think it's a good thing. I've learned to do well on, what is it? Not malto meal. What's the real thing? Oatmeal. Yes. Malto meal is, I don't even know if malto meal is cheaper. I remember being told that it was, it's funny, I remember getting malto meal and being told it was oatmeal. But even back then I was like, why does this oatmeal taste different than the other oatmeal? As a little kid, I didn't challenge it. I'm just like, okay, something about this isn't like the other thing. I mean, I was fine with it back then, but I remember what malto meal was like, and yeah, not gonna do it. Cheese food, I could not tolerate. I know people would try to pass it off as like, oh, it's American cheese. I'm like, no, this is fraud, so it ought to be a crime. Well, maybe not that bad, but it didn't seem good. I knew what real cheese was, and that wasn't it. Anyway, oh, thought a car was gonna back up into me. Never mind. Anyway, I was wondering if you would like to join me tonight in my quarters for some toast. I watched a video the other day about how to get a lot of views, or the YouTube algorithm or something. it was interesting. It talked about how big name creators don't need tags because the algorithm already favors them. It's recommending their stuff and people are already looking for it, and YouTube keeps a record of their habits. So it's going to say, oh, here's this. And it was inspiring but also discouraging at the same time. But at the same time, didn't have a proper segue. I really don't know what to do. I kind of don't have a whole lot of time to create stuff. Something like this, I kind of feel is the most I can do. And I keep seeing videos about people say to make it in YouTube, you have to find a niche and go to that. And if you try to have a bunch of stuff on a channel, that's going to limit you because certain people want certain things, and I see the validity of that. There's a channel called Biographics that I like, and if one day they just did a makeup tutorial, I would probably be less interested, like, it's been a while since they had a video and this is what they're offering me. But at the same time, I don't want to just do one thing. And I'm so pressed for time these days that I think something like this is the most I can do. For a moment there, I saw it kind of looked like a van or something was off in the background. Almost like a CIA thing. Oh, conspiracy. No. Maybe I should move to a more well-lit area. I don't know. I should not stop saying I don't know. My dad made the observation of when I'm asked about something, I'll say I don't know and then proceed to say something specific. It doesn't seem like a contradiction to me. I guess to me it seems apparent that when you say I don't know, you're basically saying I'm not sure, but, and you can use it in that context. I've seen it done in movies, and he's seen the same movies, so I don't know how he hasn't picked up on that. I mean, nothing I'm too upset about, but it was just one of those little sticking points. Did I do a live video today? No, I didn't. I watched a biographics video about Mao and his life and the Civil War, the Chinese Civil War, the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution, and I think there were one or two things that I thought, okay, that's not correct, or there's so much there that I think he might have glossed over the details. I think it could have been a multi-part series. Who knows, maybe that's my history. Maybe that would be my thing, is history channels. But go into like the detail. One channel that I kind of stumbled across, I'm inventing words, everybody. Akron. Watch that become a meme. You're not that famous, David. I know. One channel I like that I just happened to discover, there we go, we'll use that cut, is this group called the Procrastinators. And it's this podcast where they'll talk about almost any number of things, from philosophy to comics sometimes they'll mix stuff up, and I think it's cool. But the one thing they did that I liked the most was they did these 2 lecture videos where it was just them sitting in a room, but one of them stood up like he was giving a lecture, and I think they kind of went off the cuff on these 2 subjects. One of them was about that guy, Christian Weston Chandler, and the other was about a guy named Laserbot. And I liked that format the best, but I was listening to one of their podcasts and they said, we're not doing that anymore. And I thought that was a shame because I liked it of all the things they've done. But they're part of that rare group where they've reached the 10,000 subscriber horizon. Apparently that is a big deal. I remember the most viewed video I ever got was back in the day when YouTube first started and you had only 15 minutes of time to work with, and I think the resolution was 420 or 480, something along those lines. I did this video where I took footage from an old cartoon called The Happy Prince, and I took that Queen song, Who Wants to Live Forever, and I made a music video. And the views climbed. I was surprised. I remember being like, whoa. And I can't help but think maybe I should have done more of those, but copyright was a thing back then, more so. And the video now over time has gotten 100,000 views. That's from when it was uploaded till the present, and those views kind of teetered off, but I kind of can't help but wonder if I didn't catch a wave and I should have rode it more, but who knows. I'm sort of wondering what I can do and try to make it interesting. One thing I thought of doing was taking a video, well, not taking a video, no, take 2, making a list and improving off of it, like make a point like point A, B, C, D, etc. And just, yeah. I even thought of doing something where I make that list in front of you guys to the one person who's watching in the future, because it's a live video and right now nobody's watching, it's just me. But this is kind of the most I can do at the moment. Oh, one person is watching. I wonder who. I wonder if it's the algorithm that suggested it or if they're a subscriber. I don't know. Say if somebody's watching, say something, or I'm giving up on you. But yeah. Well, if I do enough of these, wow, I've been on for about 19 minutes. I know the algorithm. Be careful for those who have like seizures and stuff. Yeah. I know the algorithm favors long form content. So I guess I need to get good at speaking off the cuff. My grandpa was pretty good at that. He was a pastor for a number of years, and let's see. Yeah, I think at least from my earliest memories, let's see, I was 4, and he was the pastor of his own church up until about 2010. So, let's see. 2010, I was 23. So for over 20 years, he was a pastor, and he was one of those ones that would give long sermons. I know most sermons today, they clock in at about 40 minutes, 50 if it's long, but he came from that tradition of, let's see, I remember the service would start at 10:30. Well, that was worship, and then he could go from 11 to 12:30, or I think he could even go up to 1:30. So he could do things like 2.5 hours, and he could find that much time to talk about something. And I was one of those kids where, well, our church had a kids ministry, but we got to be, our church shrunk to a size to such that we had the younger kids ministry, but in the older kids ministry, we didn't really have one. And then it kind of went down from there, and yeah, so I would have to sit in the main church, and he could go on for a while. I'm not criticizing it, but it was the sort of circumstances that would force a kid to be patient. And I didn't have, well, this was well before smartphones. And I wasn't allowed to play Game Boy. I could draw, but they didn't want me to play my Game Boy. But on that note, I remember one day I had the idea of sitting off in the back pew, where I wasn't next to anybody, and I realized I could pull out my Game Boy and turn the sound down, and be like, and that passed time so much better. But yeah, they didn't want me to do that, although I was allowed to draw. So I don't know why one was acceptable over the other. Maybe because I was being creative with pen and paper. I'm not 100% sure. I don't fault anybody for it, but it was just something that I've observed. So anyway, yeah, he could go on for a bit. And I kind of realized he was doing long form content before the internet became the staple of the day. He was doing long form content, and there wasn't a YouTube, there weren't podcasts. So maybe I have some capacity to do that as well. I've got to get better at talking though. And I think I might need to get somebody else to do this with me, because the whole off the cuff thing is not easy. Anyway, I've got to stop saying that. I've now got roughly half an hour before I have to be at church, and I'm maybe only 3 minutes away. So we've got time to kill. What should we do? Let's see. Go through my wallet. Oh. Is this read backwards or... Oh, shoot. I need to think of more interesting things to do, but I wonder who that person was that watched the video. I have a feeling, but yeah, I'll look at the comments later maybe. I thought about going to Little Caesars and getting a hot and ready with pretzel crust. I tried that once and it was pretty good. But at the same time, I'm trying to eat better. I made a video not too long ago addressing nerds, and one person said it was kind of harsh. The other person said it's hard truth that some people need to hear sometimes. But in some ways, I kind of felt like, why did I make that? But at the same time, because it was addressed to myself, I thought it needs to happen. I do have so many things that I need to do, and I haven't been good at it this year. It's already been a month and a half, and I've somewhat failed at my New Year's resolutions. But I do think maybe I need to amend them slightly. Maybe instead of studying Korean for 3 hours a day, maybe I can devote 90 minutes and then do some other things. Maybe I don't have to wake up at 3 in the morning, study, go to morning service, and be there at 5:30, and then come home and study until I have to get ready for work and be at work by 11. Or maybe I should get a day off, because I've been working pretty hard for the last almost 5 years. I remember 2014, I really wanted a great camera, and my pastor at the time, he was nice enough to lend me money so I could get one sooner, and I was able to pay him off really soon, and I got a really awesome Sony NEX FS100 camera in June or July of that year. And that was the same year that I started going to the church I'm going to. And that's where I'm going to go to tonight. This video went so far off course from Shane Dawson. I talked about it a little bit. I really hope the YouTube algorithm doesn't penalize me for that, because, well, I don't think they will, because I will watch a ton of Vice News videos. Well, not a ton, enough that I've picked up some contrivances. They'll take the most interesting thing about the video, and they'll put that in the thumbnail, and they'll put it in the title, and you think that's what the whole video is going to be about, but you find out it's only a portion of it, and it could be anywhere within the duration of the video. It could be in like the second quarter of it, or it's the very last thing. You never know, and that's their way of getting you to watch the whole thing. So if they can get away with that, I don't see why I'll be in trouble for what I did. I kind of want to go get a pizza, but I don't really need one. I wanted to eat well today, and I sort of broke that. I've so far only had oatmeal today, and I had 2 tacos. So oatmeal and 2 bean and cheese tacos. But yeah, going back to resolutions, so my thing was, I wanted to wake up and go to church, come home and study. But the thing is, whenever I come home from church, I always go back to bed. And there's like an 80% failure rating. Yeah, I need to figure out, it's always going back to bed. Even if I feel awake, I will lay down in bed and I'll feel fine. But there's always a point of reaching like, okay, I'm not getting back out. And I need to do something to ameliorate that. One thing I found out that does help is a hot meal, a hot drink, and a hot shower. That helps out a lot. And if I can stay up for an hour after I get home, I should be good, but I always lay in bed. Friday is the only day where I kind of break that rule, because we have, in the after morning service at my church, we have breakfast. Our college group does. The people that show up will go to this nearby Mexican restaurant and get food. But yeah, I've been studying Korean on and off with varying levels of success, and I have gotten better, but I need to step it up quicker. My progression, I've been at this church for almost 5 years, and I should have gotten better a while ago. And I want to be a more participating member. It's funny, I looked up white people going to Asian churches on Google, and normally you would think you can Google anything and something will come up, but it was one of those things where almost nothing came up. I think I typed in the handful of permutations of that subject, and I think I even saw the end of the result page, and the stuff that did come up is why Asian Americans don't fit into mainline American churches, but nothing else about white people going to American churches. So, I mean, I know I'm not the only American dude who goes to an Asian church or a Korean church, but yeah, and everybody's so awesome to me. Like, when we're having a meeting or anything, or somebody's announcing something, they'll say, someone will translate for me. And I want to be better than that. I want to be better than needing a translator. And I am making progress, but it's so slow. And I wanted to do this last year, but some personal family trauma came up. I won't go into that now, but maybe a later video. And so it was something that was so emotionally draining that I couldn't do anything for a while. But what did give me some hope was there is a Korean church up in Sioux City, Iowa that we go to boost their numbers for a week, so they kind of get the idea of like, oh, this is what we could look like as a bigger church. That's my kind of guess. And it helps them out a lot, apparently. And I'd studied intensely for about a month prior to that, and I was able to hold pretty good conversations. But I'm one of those people who, when I study a language, I get it real quick, but I can lose it real quick. I think I might have said that before in another video. Anyway, fart sounds. Don't lower yourself to that level. You're better than that. It's a lack of creativity. But yeah, my New Year's resolution... There's another car. I think it's just a regular car. But anyway... Yeah, they're turning around. Yeah, my New Year's resolution. I haven't been good on that. And as I've said in another video, I anticipated this shortcoming. I anticipated it, and I tried to practice like a month or two before. It didn't lend itself well. But this has been an experiment, sort of. I think it's early enough in the year that I can amend things. I know I definitely need to try harder, and one of the things that sort of scares me a bit is I turned 32 this year, and in 8 years I'll be the same age as my dad was when him and my him and my mom split, that's kind of a terrifying thought, because he was 40 then, and, you know, let's see, how many years? 18 years later, and now he's turning 58 this year. It wasn't that long ago. And it's one of those things that makes you reflect on your own mortality. So this year I turned 32. 3 years, and 3 years is super short. I'll be 35, then 5 years. 5 years doesn't seem that long ago. 5 years ago, I started going to the church I'm going at now, and you wonder where all the time went. Yikes. I definitely thought that things were going to be different. And they are. The circumstances are different. When I got into filmmaking, I think it was just on the cusp of change. You could still do the whole festival circuit thing. You could still do the whole thing of, you make a movie, you send it to a festival, more than likely to get a deal, and you get some notoriety. I've had a hard time making a film ever since the tragedy of last year. And nobody died. Gotta say that. Won't go into the details, but maybe a future video. Anyway, I hit a wall or something. Metaphorically, not a real wall. But anyway, I just haven't been able to do the thing where my mind sorts out all the details of, like, okay, we'll need to do it this day, and this day, and I just can't move past it. But I feel like I'm getting over that. I brought this up at a prayer meeting maybe a week or two ago, and I prayed that I would be healed, that I would be able to get past that, and I would be able to do what I used to do. And I was thinking about the last movie I made, and I was thinking about the logistics of, like, okay, we shot this many pages at this location on this date with these many actors. And I kept asking myself a question which I keep turning over in my mind. Well, why can't you do something else? Why can't you make another movie? So I think I'm coming back from that. And I guess maybe one other thing is, I'm not certain what it is I want to do. I thought I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to do another sort of dark drama with emotion and pathos that was controversial. But then I looked at that last movie I did, and I realized I already kind of did that. Maybe doing it again would just be redundant. So it's made me think again, what do I want to do? And I thought about when I got into filmmaking when I was 16, turning 17. I loved anime and I loved manga, and I wanted to make stuff like that, but the software was prohibitive. The special effects software, all that, it would have been a nightmare. So I focused on doing drama and stuff. I should have done stuff like any normal kid, done comedy. But I was very bullheaded in my efforts. And I'm kind of glad, because a year or two ago, the last film I made, it was kind of the culmination of that bullheadedness. Because everybody would say, oh, just make a comedy. I'm like, no, we're going to do a drama, even though it was terrible. But last year, no, 2017, I finally got good actors, and I was able to do a serious film that people could hear the dialogue and they felt the emotions of the characters. One of the great pieces of commentary I got was from my dad, where he said, this is the first of your movies that feels like a real movie. So that was great to hear. And maybe I don't need to do such dark stuff. And I want to do something scripted. I think so many people do the whole improv thing because they don't want to have enough time to make something. They don't want to have to sit down, try to think of a script, because that's the hard part, or one of them. And those movies, sometimes you can tell they're trying to come up with dialogue as they're going. Like, y'all are probably thinking right now as I'm talking into the camera, yeah, wow, it's 40 minutes already. But anyway, I thought about what I wanted to make, and I realized I want to make the kind of stuff that I used to love, like anime and manga, but in real life. So this year, I've still got 10 months left. I'm gonna get good enough in some visual effects software that I can do something like that. And I'm also going to get good enough to gosh, where did I learn English? Forget trying to study Korean, maybe go back to school and study English, even though it's your first language. Brush up on that. Just watch anything with Benedict Cumberbatch and try to talk the way he does. No. Yeah, so that's gonna be something I would like to do. I want to make this a year where stuff is different. I think I kind of have to. I remember when I was younger, I'm not even like terribly younger, but I wanted to be this big famous filmmaker because I really didn't think much of myself back then. It's a weird way to say it, and this is a gross oversimplification of it. I kind of thought maybe my parents' split had something to do with me not... Like, maybe if I had done cooler stuff, that wouldn't have maybe happened. It's weird, and that's not... It doesn't even do a good description of my feelings, but best I can come up with now. But anyway, I've got to stop saying that. I don't feel like I need that anymore. This church I go to, I feel loved and accepted. And it's sort of taken away that need to where I've got to be this big famous filmmaker guy. But the one thing that does worry me is my parents are at that point where they have more years behind than ahead. And I've already seen how things went with my mom and her mom when she was getting towards the end of her life. And me and my mom are kind of on the same socioeconomic ladder. And so I've got that to happen with my mom. I've got that to anticipate with my dad. So, and here's the thing, they're both really talented in their particular field. Both of them should be famous or have some level of renown and prestige, but for whatever reason, they don't. So, I think I do have to get to that place. That way, if only so that I don't have to worry about them. I'm not emotional, by the way, more tired. And also, I want to do what I love, and I also want a family. But one of the things I know is girls want comfort and stability. They want to be well provided for, and I do not fault them for that. Because I think matters like that are why a lot of people split up and get divorces. So, yeah. And one of the things that I'm thankful for is that I didn't get married a while ago, that I didn't get married young, because that's something that I would have to contend with. I would have had to have dealt with a wife saying, "You're 30, you're never going to become this great filmmaker, get a real job." And who knows, maybe I would have gotten depressed. Maybe I would have resented my family. I don't know. Maybe I would have or maybe when I was younger, I could have very easily acted out of desperation and gone with the first chick I thought, oh, I've got a shot with her. But I've seen what desperation looks like. I've seen desperation play out enough, and I've seen the repercussions of entertaining desperation, that I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. Here's the thing. When my dad was my age, he was already a father to two, maybe, I think 3 kids. I'm glad he's had those kids. Then he went on to have 4, and now he's a stepdad to 3 other kids. I'm thankful for the choices he's made, but at the same time, at the risk of sounding like an arrogant tool, I'm gonna do what he was not able to afford to do. I'm gonna succeed. I'm gonna make movies. I'm gonna do this YouTube thing. I'm gonna learn to speak Korean fluently. I'm making that promise to myself. That way, when I look at this, I can go back and watch this and be like, okay, David, you said you're gonna do this. The year that I turn a different age, I always feel like I'm that age. So I'm 31, but I feel like, okay, David, you're 32, so get on that. What I need to do is find there's this one elder in our church who I made a promise to her, and that promise kept me on a track for a particular subject. I think what I need to do is make a promise to her that I'm going to get fluent in Korean. Because when I made that previous promise, remembering looking at her face and making the promise kept me on track. So I think I need to do that again. And there are so many people who are known in this world for such awful stuff, for such terrible reasons. One of the things I love in The Dark Knight, and one of the things that I've always hoped would be applicable to me, is there's that line that's famously said in the interrogation scene, and they use it in the trailer, which is one of my favorite trailers for any movie, where the Joker said, "There's no going back. You've changed things forever." I want people to say that for me. I want to be able to, if that was what they put on my tombstone, that would be great. But I'm not dead yet. I'm getting better, to quote Monty Python. Who knows? Maybe I only get as famous as Christian Weston Chandler. But I'm more capable. I am competent. I can achieve so much if I just put that first step forward. I have not entertained desperation. And not yet. That's never happening. I will not entertain desperation. I could have achieved stuff a long time ago if I compromised on my morals, but I haven't. I have to some degree, but not in the most severe degree that it's irreparable. I haven't crossed the Rubicon in that sense. I'm loved and I'm valued, not just by me, sometimes it's not me at all, but I have enough people to know that it's worth trekking on, it's worth making the effort. Yeah, this will be a very good year, and it can be a good